the Sinaloa cartel is largely responsible for the surge of fentanyl into the United States over the last 8 years. That surge is a result of a complex and comprehensive fentanyl manufacturing and trafficking network orchestrated by the cartel. The PRC government must stop the unchecked flow of fentanyl precursor chemicals that are coming out of China. The indictments describe in detail how the Sinaloa cartel operates without respect for human rights, for human life, or the rule of law.
It's Attorney General Merrick Garland announcing charges against more than 24 members of the Sinaloa drug cartel. It's all part of a massive DOJ crackdown on global drug trafficking. Officials say the cartels are fueling the deadly fentanyl crisis right here in the U.S. Let's bring in Victor Avila now. He's a retired ICE and Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent and author of Agent Under Fire. Sadly, his partner was killed by a drug cartel. So listen, Victor, the purpose here is to find solutions, not to find fault with every proposal. So with that in mind, I ask you, because drug cartels are so slippery, do U.S. sanctions and criminal charges deter their activities or put a dent in their production?
I believe that they actually would, Arthel, and I think that the plan that's been laid out by the White House is short of that. It acknowledges, and I'm glad that finally the Biden administration is acknowledging the death that is encountered by their own crisis that they created at the border. But you're right, this is about solutions. One of the solutions is let's place Mexico, and for that matter, China, let's hold them accountable for their role in allowing these chemicals, the fentanyl, the xylazine, the methamphetamine to enter the southern border. Remember, China is the one that provides these chemicals and precursors that are coming into the country of Mexico without any hesitation and any control whatsoever. So I want to see some real sanctions on the government of China, something that a lot of people, I haven't heard anyone call on that. And we need our elected officials to step up and be courageous to also address it with Mexico directly.
And of course, China is saying we're not sending any precursors to Mexico or anywhere for that matter. And you've got Mexican President Lopez Obrador saying no fentanyl is synthesized inside of Mexico. Neither is the raw material for fentanyl. The DEA, of course, disputes this. So if the two countries, Victor, can't agree on ground floor basics, is it possible to get consequential cooperation from Mexico?
That cooperation is very tough right now. I worked in Mexico, and I've tackled these drug organizations, these cartels, as you mentioned, with my partner. So I know firsthand there absolutely has to be the courage, but it has to now come from the United States government, and this administration has to step up and really coordinate some good efforts to disrupt what is happening. This plan that was laid out by the Biden administration, unfortunately, is not going to disrupt the flow of the millions of pills that are coming and killing our Americans. I want to see true sanctions placed on the government of China, on the government of Mexico, to really have them understand that their role in this smuggling, and of course, you mentioned earlier the human smuggling, the child trafficking, the human trafficking, I've worked that as well, continues to happen. And unless we take control of our border and have these other countries respect our sovereignty and our respect for our rule of law, it's not just the Sinaloa cartel and the cartel Jalisco New Generation. We must have the rest of the world really acknowledge our protections of our sovereignty as well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you may have heard this, but Republican Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida, he's on record saying, listen, we should start thinking about these drug cartels like ISIS. He and fellow Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas, they introduced a bill that would authorize the use of military force to, quote, put us at war with the cartels. And meanwhile, Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas says he's open to sending U.S. troops into Mexico to target drug lords, and this is with or without permission from Mexican lawmakers and authorities. What do you think about this proposal?
I support it. Listen, Arthel, I wrote about it in my book. I wrote about and laid out the designation of these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. I've been supporting this for a long, long time. And this is the difference that we must do now, because no longer are the days, even when I worked as a criminal investigator down at the border from El Paso to San Antonio, identifying the drug smuggler and moving, and it's taking these 2 years investigations. Those days are over. We must now move forward and evolve, just like the cartels have evolved, and categorize them and put them at where they belong. And that's exactly right. They're terrorists. They've been terrorists for a long time. They've terrorized the country of Mexico and our own country with the deaths with fentanyl. And I absolutely support this. And I love to see all of those options on the table. By the way, there's bills right now that can be presented to the House Bill 29. But unfortunately, our own Congressman, Tony Gonzalez, down in District 23, has blocked it from being heard. You know, we cannot continue down this path.
Do you know why?
He says that it would limit the asylum seekers from coming into this country, which is completely untrue. People can seek asylum, and I want them to come to, but you have to do it legally through a port of entry. What's happening, you saw that in El Paso, all the way down to Eagle Pass. That's not the right path to come to this country. I support legal immigration all the way, but what is happening down on the southern border is a lot of death and drowning and rapes, and we must protect, believe it or not just the Americans, but the immigrants themselves, who have go through this horrific journey of being victimized by the cartels, by the Mexican government, by so many people, starting back at the Darien Gap. And we really need to change this and disrupt it. House Bill 29 is an incredible bill. I've read it myself. Chip Roy has sent it to me. I said it, I support it, but I cannot understand why our own representative from CD23 would block that. We need to come together and disrupt what this Biden administration has created. It's way overdue.
I do have to leave it there. Appreciate your comments, Victor Avila. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care. Be safe.